Just hang that around your neck. I'm going to get started now, but don't worry about it. It'll be in there.
Are you the recording for the
Yes.
next one? I was going to use a hand held mic to pass to the TCKs.
Okay.
Does that work? For the
Absolutely.
Or I'll also they want to be recorded.
Yeah.
They might not want to be.
And I'll introduce you. So I have a first name Tammy. And who are you with? You're with
Barnabas.
You're with Barnabas.
And TCK consultant with them.
Okay. I'm a TCK myself.
Awesome. I was going to ask this, who's
Okay. And you grew up in Brazil?
I did, born and raised, and
Okay.
and then doing MC ministry with my institution I grew up with for 15 years, and just doing Barnabas last year.
Okay.
So still working with missionary kids
Okay.
or TCKs.
Okay. Where's your master's from?
Perrin University, Philadelphia Biblical University.
Okay.
It's just north of Philly.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I was a teacher, but then I've been doing MK ministry. I do some teaching in that, but like.
Okay. Great. And then 1 hour, so we can watch the clock.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
I'll get going about halfway through. I'm going to sit in the back. I may come in and out.
And I put my phone here, but I don't have a watch, so help me with the.
Okay, all right. If when it hits 1:30, I'll turn it on. And
Well, with the end section, I have another resource handout, so they can just read it for themselves. I don't need to go over it.
Okay. Tammy, sure. All right, if you could. Good afternoon. This is brutal. It's always the hardest to do the first session after lunch, but I think this looks like a good group, so they didn't agree. I would like to welcome you to this session on TCK. Our presenter for this afternoon is Tammy Sharp. She herself is a TCK. Back in my day, we called it MK. I'm one too, although very adult. And she grew up in Brazil, so she has experience in being a TCK herself. And she has also been involved for many years in TCK ministry through her other mission agency, and now she serves with Barnabas International, focusing on ministering to TCKs and helping them navigate life. It can be challenging, right? So before she begins, I'd like to pray for her. Father, we are grateful for the chance to gather here. We are grateful for the life that you have given Tammy, for the opportunity that you gave her to live overseas as a kid. And we thank you that she is able to use that experience now to serve other people. I pray that what she says will be honoring to you and will be a blessing to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. So just a disclaimer, I was a middle school teacher, so I brought some toys with me. Even though middle school thinks they're too old for that. So you can read my little bio there in the thing, and I sent that for Patrick just so that he would get to know me, and then he puts it in there, so I wasn't planning for him to put all of that in there. So I live in Kansas City, Missouri right now, and I just started working at Barnabas International about a year ago, and so still trying to figure out ministry within Barnabas, but still focusing on missionary kids and third culture kids. And I wanted to just ask before we start, just raise your hand if you are a missionary kid or a third culture kid. Let's see. And then also if you are raising missionary kids or third culture kids. Okay, so I kind of wanted this to be interactive. I feel like I'm just going to speak to the choir here, so I'd love for you guys to chirp up or, give feedback. And how I kind of divided this work, the 1 hour is into 3 sections. And so I want to stop at the end of each section and just ask for either, comments, feedback, or any questions about that section. So the first section is just a basic understanding of the term third culture kid. That missionary kid is one of the subcategories within that. But just that we all have the same understanding, I feel like there's been misunderstanding out there, and so just to make sure we're all talking and thinking the same way. So I'm going to do a couple like just show and tell things to kind of help think about the terms. So the first part is just on understanding of why churches, mission agencies should actually do TCK care or an MK care, and why it's different than working with parents, and what we should do about it as organizations or sending churches. So the understanding is the first part. The second part is on caring, some caring ideas, and the third part is on some resources, and I brought some show and tell stuff here. And I have another handout to give you that has 7 pages of resources. And so we'll give that out in the resource section. And then I'll try and finish a few minutes early that you can come and look at some of the things up here. And then also feedback after that if you're like, you're totally missing this awesome resource that we use and is helpful to me or my family, just to kind of share about that. If you were in the Letters Never Sent by Terry Miller earlier, I bought that book, and so she was mentioning that in her session. She talked about letters that missionaries never sent. So Ruth Van Rieken was one of the premier people who wrote about third culture kids. This is her story, that she started processing at the age of 39, her experience as a missionary kid. So it's never too late to process. And I'm 46, and I'm still processing, and I feel like I've transitioned well, but you can decide after this hour. So go ahead and start the first section. I have no idea, like, I can't multitask, so trying to push buttons and things. So I need a volunteer to come up here real quick. There we go. Okay. Somebody come up here. Okay. I'm going to be away from the mic for just 1 second. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So this illustration is how adults do culture, and now I'm going to do how kids do culture in the third culture to explain the third culture kids. Okay. So an adult is growing up in a blue world, could be United States, probably United States, or wherever. So those are blue adults, and then they're going to move cross-culturally. So they're going to go to a red world, or a red planet. And so they go. Okay, can you mix those guys all up?
Yeah.
Okay, then they go to a new culture, and they're. It's plastic. Yeah, and so there's lots of challenges, and there's lots of issues, and they're, in the mixing bowl, and they're trying to understand a language and raise kids there, and they're. But can you distinguish the blue and the red? Or could you separate them out?
Not super easily.
Okay. Yeah, you couldn't do it super easily, but you can still see that there's some red and there's some blue and there's some different cultures. So as an adult, okay, thank you very much.
So
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
As an adult, you still have all those things that you believe about the world, about God, about your identity are all formed before you move cross-culturally. So when you're taking your culture and you're going into the new culture, you can still pick out, this is why I'm an American, or this is, I'm learning things about my Chinese culture, or my Brazilian culture, or my Kazakh culture, but you can identify what those pieces are. So I need another volunteer to come up, help me do the kid piece. So the kids, as they're moving, I was born in Brazil, so with North American parents, they're actually from 2 different countries, Canada and the United States, but I'll just call them blue. So my parents are blue, and some kids are just transitioning from a culture, going into a new culture. They're going into another culture, a red culture. Can you just mix it all together? And so as they're growing up as kids, those cultures, the parents' culture, where they're coming from, they're in this new culture, those things are just being mashed up together and forming this third culture. And I'm going to talk about where the misunderstanding comes in, understanding the third culture. But as they're growing up, it's hard for me to distinguish what I'm doing that is very Canadian, or what I'm doing that's very Brazilian, or why I know why I stand close to people in the line, but it's a Brazilian thing to do. But and it's just hard for me as a kid to identify. And if I asked, what's your name? Haley. Haley to say, can you take out the blue clay, or can you separate out the clay, red clay? It would be hard to do that and hard to distinguish. And so you have this different color, kind of purplish color. That is what the kids are experiencing. So thank you very much. This is the actual formal definition, and I know it's kind of long, but I wanted to just point out a couple of things. One of the parts of the definition is that as the third culture, these kids are going into their culture, it's during this developmental years. And so it's really different. People will say, I'm a third culture adult. Yeah, okay, you are. But what you already formed about your identity and your belonging and how you process life and what you believe about religion and God and the world, those have already been formed. And so this developmental ages of 0 to 18 is significant. And then the last part is talking about elements of each culture are assimilated into the TCK's life experiences. And so this is a shared experience, and I'm going to explain why the shared experience of the TCK is where they find belonging. We're going to read a book in a second. This would be purple. I just read for red's sake. But this purple, the third culture is not me, like my North American parent heritage in Brazil. It's not the mixing of the two cultures that's the third culture. Okay, that's not what the third culture is. And I don't know if you can read it up there. And there it says cross number 1 and number 2. The third culture is the shared experience of being in a cross-cultural setting as a kid and moving as a kid. Okay, so the purple is going red, blue, red, blue, red, blue as they're growing up. And the purple was in blue and then went to red, okay? And so they're becoming more and more purple. So the third culture is not just a mix of the cultures. It's not a mix of me being Brazilian and Canadian and American. The third culture is, is this. There's only two things that apply to every third culture kid. They're in bold up there. Is that they live in a cross-cultural world as a kid and they move around in that world, okay? Or they move around between different worlds. Now, I grew up in the same house my whole life. Well, except for my furlough years and home ministry years. But I was born and raised in Brazil, lived on the same property my whole life. But I don't know how many thousands of people moved in and out of my life. And so the mobility piece is not just necessarily that you personally are moving, but there's a lot of moving happening in and out of your life of different teachers and friends, and we're all on different home ministry schedules and things like that. Now, these other two that are, they could be identifying factors of a third culture kid or a missionary kid, but not always true. So I have up there expected repatriation. So I grew up, with North American parents, and I was expected to repatriate for college to America. I do not think one time ever crossed my mind to stay in Brazil for college. There was just an expected repatriation. Now, and immigrant communities would have a lot of similar traits, so they don't have this expected repatriation. An immigrant would come here, they would be living in a cross-cultural world, they could have a mobility piece, but they don't have that expected repatriation that they're going to go back to the family, or a refugee family are not necessarily expecting to go back to that culture. The system identity, this is where military families would have a system. I grew up at an MK school, so that's a system that I'm living in within a Brazilian context. It could be the missions community. So not everyone is going to have a system, so that's why they're not highlighted like that. Okay, I'm going to read a book, and I know because this is the best book, and it's going to take 5 minutes, and a kid book, But this really explains it, and I just gave it to one of our parents. So this guy came up to me, and I'm like, here, have a book. Like, it's that good. So it really explains being a third culture kid. And then this is a girl that I know, her name's Talia. And you'll understand why she's swirly in the end. So for those of you, I have 3 extra books. If you just want to look at it, follow along, you can look at it. TDK. Come on there. Anybody else want to look at it? Pass it back there. That's back there. Okay. It's hard to might see the picture, but this is the best resource out there other than the book, Third Culture Kids. This is not the latest edition. Other than the book, so this is an adult version, this is the kids version. I know it's a bit hard to see, but you can hear the words. Once upon a time, a lovely new baby girl was born to a happy blue mother and a happy blue father in a happy blue town in the blue country. The mother and the father named their new baby Lila. They had great hopes to bring her up to be a proud, happy blue girl. Lila was just beginning to become blue when her parents decided to move to the yellow country. They took a long trip on many airplanes to get there. They made a new happy blue home in the midst of a yellow town. They began to learn the ways of their yellow friends and neighbors. Lila's parents had already grown up to be blue. They learned yellow ways, but they themselves were still very blue. Lila, however, had not grown up to be completely blue. As she grew older in the yellow town playing with her yellow friends, she began to grow a bit yellow too. She was a swirl of blue with inside her home and yellow from outside, and sometimes even blends of green. So her skin is starting to get swirly. Lila had lots of fun with her yellow friends, but sometimes she felt different. Her blue thoughts and ways were different from theirs. Sometimes Lila, you just can't understand, they said, because you're blue. This isn't the place where you really belong. Lila wondered to herself, where do I belong? Maybe this really isn't really my home. Maybe I really belong in the blue country because I'm blue, but I hardly remember it. One day, Lila's parents said, we're going to visit the blue home, the blue country, and see all our happy blue family. Start packing. Now I will finally see the place where I belong, Lila thought. She was excited. The blue country was exciting and different for Lila. She saw and felt and smelled and tasted many things that were new to her, or that she had only heard stories about before. There was so much blue just like her. This must be where she belonged. But Lila was also yellow, and as she played and talked with her cousins, she noticed they were different from her. They were all blue. Sometimes Lila acted or thought in yellow ways, and her cousins found this strange. Sometimes you just don't understand things, Lila. Aren't you supposed to be like us? Aren't you supposed to be blue? Lila thought, I guess this isn't the place I belong either. Where do I belong? Lila's parents decided to move to a new place. They said goodbye to their friends in the yellow town and promised to keep in touch. Their next blue home was in the red town in the red country. They began to learn the ways of their new red friends and neighbors. Lila was still growing up, and as she played with her new red friends, she began to grow a little red too. She was becoming even more swirly. In school, Lila made a new friend who wasn't all red. Deji was swirly like her. He had orange and green and purple and red. Lila understood a lot of things about Deji, and he understood a lot of things about her. He knew what it was like to want to belong somewhere too. They became very good friends. One day, Lila went to Deji's house after school to do homework and to play. Deji had told her that his mother was swirly too. Lila had never met a swirly grown-up. While they were doing homework, Deji's mother came to check on them. Mom, said Deji, we have a question for you. Lila nodded. What's that? Asked Deji's mother. Did you ever wish you could belong somewhere? Asked Deji. Deji's mother smiled and said, I did, but I don't have to wish anymore because now I know where I belong. Really? Asked Lila. Where is that and how did you find it? First of all, said Deji's mother, you should know that someone very special and powerful is swirly too. Can you guess who? Lila and Deji shook their heads. I'm talking about Jesus, said Daisy's mother, he left his first country and family in heaven to grow up in a country on our earth. When he was very little, his earthly family moved to another country on earth and then back to the first one. Now he lives in the hearts of people in every country of the world, and all of their colors are part of him. Being swirly like Jesus is a special blessing because swirly sometimes helps us understand people in ways from all colors of countries better than people who have grown up to be all one color. So, if you're red or yellow or blue or green, or maybe every color in between, where do you belong? Right next to Jesus' heart, that's where. So that's like, yeah, I don't have to do any more talking now. Yeah, so this is, yeah, I'll talk about the Word of God later as a resource, because, yes, Jesus. But this is a really good, and this is why that it's not just the third culture, it's just a mix of red and blue, because there could be multiple cultures. And I mean, United States and Canada are different, but similar, of course. But I lived in Canada for 3 years of my life. Never lived in the United States until I went to college in my sophomore year. That was a culture shock when I went to Wheaton. But yeah, so just that the third culture actually is Easter eggs. Our world is getting more and more mobile, and this is what our kids are looking like. These eggs, and they don't match because they don't match. Yeah, and this is the third culture, is that you can be, that you have mobility, you're moving around, and you're growing up in a cross-cultural setting. Now, you can be in America and be a third culture kid. You can live in a cross-cultural setting in America, and you can move around a lot. So it can exist here. Don't think it's just overseas, but... So, okay, we're going to talk about some really awesome things about Lila and her experience. We're going to talk about some challenging things. Oh wait, sorry, I forgot to show this. So this is a girl, I met her in Senegal, and this is a transition chart. And so the kids are supposed to color where they lived when it starts at 0, goes to 18. And I did it with her brothers, and they're like, I'm going to keep this chart until I'm 18 and keep filling it in. So the parents are from Ireland, and so this is their life. And I met them in Senegal, which was actually the toughest, I think it was black. Yeah, I think it's black. This is the hardest country they've lived in. And they love their other countries. And they were just really struggling in Senegal with a different religion, different language. So they went to France to learn French so they can move to Senegal. But they'd already lived in English-speaking countries in Africa. And so just, they were really struggling at that point. But this is a real-life picture of someone swirling. Okay, so the challenge, if you ask Lila, where are you from, in the swirly book, what is she going to say? It's hard to say where exactly are you from. And so in the book, it's talking a lot about belonging and trying to find belonging and sorting that out. And so this challenge of who am I and where do I belong is a big challenge. And so I like the cartoon about a Pledge of Allegiance because I actually don't know the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. And I never had to say it one day of my life. And then I taught at a Christian school in Alaska, and I'm like, and I didn't have a first hour class, so I never had to say it. And then when they switched the schedule around, and when I had to teach first hour, I was like, I don't even want to pledge allegiance to the American flag. And so I was like, where do I put my hand, So yeah, it's just, it can be complicated for the kids. I can sing the Canadian national anthem. The Brazilian one's too hard. But yeah, just these questions still struggle sometimes. I was just telling somebody here, I can't believe they put Kansas City, Missouri on my name tag. Like, that's not where I'm from. I mean, okay, I live there, but, and so these are certain challenges. The second, and this relates to the moving and their cross-cultural piece. So this is the reality then of the mobile world of moving is this idea of loss and grief. So if kids are not doing the loss and grief well, or handling it well as they're moving. Now, back in the olden days, you went on a ship for 6 months over to Africa, and you had 6 months to debrief and process, and and then you ride back in America, and okay, you're good to go, or you ride down the continent. But nowadays, you get on a plane ride, and you're there in 5 hours, and so you don't have enough time to process the loss and the grief, and so they just kind of pile up. And it's just real quick. So one of the challenges that we work with adult third culture kids is this idea of unresolved grief. And so these losses just keep piling up over and over. Now, we'll give some ideas of how you can do this well and process with your family and your kids. But one of the things is like, if I say Brazil is bad, that's denying all the good things that were true about Brazil. And so there's a fear of denying the good. There's lots of hidden losses. People know that my best friend moved away, but they don't know, I moved to Kansas City and nobody knew me, and I'm like, you don't know who I am and what I'm good at and what my challenges are and how to speak into my life. And we're going to talk more about permission to grieve and then time to process and lack of comfort. Sorry, I'm way behind on these ones. So real quick before we do time for comment and questions is, so we have this idea of moving in this cross-cultural setting as a third culture. And so there are so many awesome things. If you ask Lila, and if she was a real person, and y'all know real people, what is awesome about growing up in Brazil? And I can, if you want to spend the next 3 days, I can tell you all the awesome things that I loved about Brazil. It's also some challenges, and so you can see there we go. Okay, so with the kids, it's this paradox where you have, there's so many good things, but there's also challenging things. And so with younger kids, we talk about a pair of ducks. So there's so many awesome yay things. So this is my yay duck. Just say, what are those yay things about growing up cross-culturally? And this is the yuck duck. And there's some yucky things and things that are not super helpful or super good about growing up in a cross-cultural setting. But the yay and yuck have to go together. You can't just have a yay duck or you just have a yuck duck. And sometimes there's more yuck or more yay, but these are a pair of ducks. And so a paradox is when opposites are true at the same time. It doesn't make sense. How can there be yays and yucks? Okay, so you can all probably list thousands of yay things. So this is just, you saw in your handout. And then there's hundreds of yuck things too. These are just some real quick ones that I think are on the handout as well. So that's just a really basic, now we'll show you some resources in a minute. But any questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You're saying thank you for making it visual. It's yeah. Okay, just double checking. So as far as understanding third culture kids, I'll go over some resources later, but probably The Swirlies, the best book for kids, the best book for the adults. I would say high school and up would be third culture kids. The newest edition just came out, but it's even thicker than this, and it's really good read, but what college student or adult, not adult, college or high school student's going to read a 450-page book? I don't know. Maybe. Okay, so we're going to move on to the caring piece. If anyone else had any comments or questions, just double check. Okay. So I realized in a workshop like this, there's so many different directions to go in, and so many different ideas. It's like, I didn't even talk about transition, and yeah, we could be here all day or, for many weeks and not cover everything there is to say about this topic. But I was trying to think through of just what as mission agencies or churches or TCKs or people, and one of the first people, one of the co-authors of this TCK book is David Pollock, who passed away in 2004. David Pollock and Ruth Van Rieken. Ruth's the one that wrote that book, Letters Never Sent, so the two of them wrote this. But David Pollock wrote an article on why I care for TCKs or MKs, and this is how I started my ministry, is I sent this out to everybody I knew, and I'm like, I'm going to do caring for TCKs, and this is why. One is that they exist, okay, so that they're present. The top right picture is the European conference that I was at. And so we have families in Europe. They're there to tell people about Jesus and the gospel, so MKs exist. The second thing he said is there's parents. Like, parents are, raising kids in a cross-cultural setting, and how do we journey and come alongside of parents and help them in shepherding their kids, and how do we resource the parents, and parents obviously have the primary responsibility for the kids 0 to 18. So what can we do to come alongside of them? I'm not going to say that it's not the parents' responsibility. So on those younger kids, it's like, how do we almost resource the parents? We can have impact on the kids, but, and then the third thing is the parents. Top left corner, Jenny, you recognize the people? So top left corner are some of my relatives. The husband is my second cousin. They're in Kenya. And so Steve grew up in Congo as an MK, got evacuated, went back to Congo, got evacuated, so they raised their kids in Kenya. And I got to spend 3 weeks with them in Kenya. And so he's had parents who have had some challenging times and raised their kids, and the kids are all doing great, and but just how do we come alongside of parents? And then the three on the bottom, the potential. These three MKs grew up in Italy. This is a picture taken in Alaska. You never know where you're going to run into people. So I ran into them in Alaska, but I've known them since they were babies, and they grew up in Italy, and they're all back in Italy serving God. And just they grew up in Italian school systems, went to Wheaton. Blossom just graduated. They're all going back, but one's a businessman, one's an elementary school teacher in an Italian public school, and the third one is an athlete. And so it's like just leveraging their skills. They love Jesus. And I'm not saying that they need to go back to Italy as a traditional missionary, but how do we take the potential, the cultural skills that they have, the linguistic skills, and how do we make disciples of all nations and leverage what the TCKs have to offer. And so I just explained this is why I'm doing MK ministry. Okay, so we did the first section, understanding TCKs. So now we're starting, and the no resources will be the third section that we're going to do. And I have a whole 7-page handout on that I'll give you in a minute. So now we're going to just go to that middle section. So the middle section is caring for MKs. So I started working at my mission agency, the agency that I grew up in. They did not have an MK coordinator, and I was asked to come in and be the MK coordinator. So I'm like, what does that mean? What should I do? And so I did a survey of all of our parents. Hey, I want to be your MK person. Like, what should I do? So they basically all said the same thing. Don't do anything unless you know my kids and have a relationship with them. And I'm like, okay, you're in China and Afghanistan and South Africa and Ecuador and I'm in Philadelphia. So I was like, wow, what does that mean? And I've had so many people in churches ask me, can you give me an MK that I want to love and care for? What can I do? And I don't know how to give someone a relationship or that I have, or say, hey, you over here and you over here, you should get together. And I don't know, and so these are just ideas of how to start a relationship with your families, with your third culture kids, and so maybe you guys have this one to ask you guys. You know, I just was listing some things. The picture I have up here is of two Amy's. They actually live in Kansas City because of me, and I've known them since they were in middle school and kind of met with them as my job at my mission. Visited them all through college. The one in the middle, the Amy there, she was an accountant. Saw her at Seattle Pacific University. She's looking for a job. I'm like, hey, we're looking for an accountant in Kansas City. So she interviewed and got the job, worked in the office. The other one, they're both accountants actually, and they both grew up in Brazil, 1,000 miles away from each other and from me. So Brazil is the 5th largest country in the world. So yeah, anyway. Yeah, and so I just helped her get an internship there. She came to grad school in Kansas City. I took her to my church. Yeah, and so, yeah, it's just been awesome. And this is us camping for 3 days this last summer and just spending time together and just hanging out. And they've had some challenges, even as adults, in transitioning and thinking through their identity and their belonging. And they both just recently told me they want counseling. And I'm like, yeah, let's continue the journey in the relationship. I've known you for 15 years, and it's not over yet. And it's still like, come alongside of you and cry with you and just spend time with you. And so been able to continue that in Kansas City with them, which has been awesome. So anyway, I put some things that anyone else have ideas of how to build relationships with your families, with your kids. Yeah. Hang on, I have a microphone somewhere. Where did it go? Oh, yeah. Perfect.
My husband and I started home, and we have very rare families that are missionaries in our church. And so I would keep all the clothes of my son outgrown. They're still good. And when those families came home, they had been smaller than mine. And we would set up a store in my living room, and I'd sort them all by size, and they could come when they could pick out, jump into these clothes, and replenish their wardrobe with the U.S., because a lot of the clothes they had from the country they were living in weren't the same, they weren't the right season or whatever. And so that really built relationships with these kids, and now that they're adults, same thing, one of the families, two of the sons are married women from the country that they lived in and are going back there for ministry. But yeah, so we just opened our home for things they needed, especially with clothing.
Okay, awesome. Anyone have other ideas of just how to build a relationship, connect, serve the families, how to care for them?
I raised 2 missionary kids, TCKs, and on an official capacity, I don't remember anyone in any of our churches ever spending time just with my kids. So we would come back, and we'd go to the mission city, and we would spend time with the sports. We had people that took care of our kids, that poured into them, and came alongside us, friends and stuff. But I'm just thinking about what if someone were to spend time, and as member people, we've done that now with missionary families. We always take the kids aside and we ask them questions, we ask them to process their experience.
Yeah, for sure. One time, I hated going to churches when I was a kid, so somebody just took us out for ice cream during the worship service. Yeah, awesome. We'll love going back to that church.
We had a family with 4 children and talked to their parents and got some idea about what they might like. And we had a happy unbirthday party for all the kids. And almost the whole church came to celebrate.
Yeah.
And that was a big impact.
And as somebody who has a July birthday and everyone transitions in July, nobody was ever there for my birthday. So all my friends were gone or we were traveling, and so it was just great. I get to have my birthday here or there in random places.
Yeah, because in my journal,
one of the churches met them for Sunday school, and it started one of their children our kids in class, and that's all the
Yeah. Okay, last one, and I'll keep going.
This is something just super tiny.
Yeah.
My family grew up in Thailand, and so I remember a couple times when we came back for furlough, someone from the church, I think one of the moms or something, had put together like little care packages with just little snacks in it. And I think it was like individual per kid that had our name on it.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot because I was like, oh, somebody like knew my name, and they like put you in just those little cereal boxes. I was like so excited about the cereal boxes. And so it was just special.
Yeah, and I think the key there is that somebody saw you and that the kids are seen. So if they're seen, then you can build a relationship with them. If they don't know that they're seen, then it's, so I won't tell you all my horror stories. Anyway, I wanted to just real quick go over this next one. About permission, and this comes from Michelle Phoenix, and she's on the resource sheet, and she has a website and a blog, and she's like amazing and awesome, and she writes awesome articles. But she talks about this, give permission, and I thought, man, this is so good. So to be kids, is that, so as missionary kids, you have an expectation that you have to be perfect. And so if you can, as a church, missions team, committee, whatever, it's just like kids are kids, and that they're not so, who's perfect? But we grow up with that expectation that we have to be perfect, and that if we're not perfect, it's going to be detrimental to our parents' ministry. And so to have and so this book, the best book ever. So this is, I give this away to everybody, all the TCKs too. It says, I have to be perfect and other parsonage heresies. The Preacher's Kids, and this is he's a missionary kid, the Preacher's Kid Manual of the Holy Heresies you may have grown up with and how to find your way back to the truth. And so obviously the first one is I have to be perfect. The other one is I should already know. I'm here for others. I'm different. I can't trust anyone. I can ruin my dad's ministry. I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. Other people's needs are more important than my own. God is disappointed with me. And so these are the heresies that a lot of TCKs and MKs grow up with. And he is a biblical counselor. MK grew up with pastors. His dad was a pastor. Second thing is permission to fail. So failure, any kind of failure is going to hurt our parents' ministry. And so just having that pressure on kids. So the teenagers in America have this permission to fail and try things, and as a teenager you're starting to push the boundaries, and you're driving and you're getting a job, and there's things that don't work, and you're in a safe environment with your parents. TCKs often have the opportunity to fail, to try things, and so they're going into college. I didn't have my first job until I was away from my parents, and I'm like, man, this isn't working, and just relationships and friendships, and so that they aren't going to be perfect and fail. And another awesome book is written by John Piper's son, Barnabas. Amazing. The pastor's kid, poor kid, he grew up as John Piper's son. It's worse than me growing up with my dad as a principal. And so he's still a believer, still loves God, follows God, but just that pressure that he couldn't fail is, and so this is a super great book and helpful. To grieve, so there's so many goodbyes, so much loss, and sometimes there's not that permission to grieve, and we don't see adults grieving sometimes, or my parents, I didn't really see them very much do that well. And this idea of resilience is too strong. We need to be resilient. Raising resilient and courage is awesome. Yes, I'm resilient, but how do I grieve well in that process? Lots of loss and transition. Permission to dissent. So so this idea of the calling, my parents were called to the mission field, man. I was born there. I never got called. Didn't have a choice. And so this idea that to get permission to say it's okay that I don't want to be here or do this or be here, to have a voice and to be heard. Not that that's going to change things necessarily, but having that permission to doubt. So this assumption that all MKs are believers, just to be able to have proper space that MKs can ask questions about Christianity. I found that in my teachers a little bit as I was growing up, of being able to say, I don't really believe this stuff, or it's be true, or being able to ask questions in a safe place. And that's sort of redefine significance. So I grew up my whole life, I want to be a missionary, I want to go back overseas, and that's because that's what we grew up with, is that is significant. That you are a missionary and you go overseas. I don't know how many times my brother has said to me, like, wow, Tammy, you're really serving God, you're a missionary, I feel like I failed. And I'm looking at him like, you're ever in the church in Central Oregon, a little tiny town, raising 5 kids in the faith, you love God, you own your own business, Christian principles, like, serving God there, it's like, he doesn't feel like it's significant at all. And I'm like, no. How do we say that, how God's wired the kids and given them these, I know a kid who loved to play the guitar. He went to Moody to be a Bible translator, but he just wasn't good with languages and he loved playing guitar. But God must not want me to play guitar because I love it too much. I'm too good at it. So I got to do something and study something that would make an impact for the gospel and be significant. And no, God can use that guitar playing for his glory and his purpose. But we just grow up with this mindset sometimes of we got to do something that other people say is significant. I just wanted to throw that out there just to be aware. Sorry, I just checked my time. Okay. So that's one way of caring. So this is under the caring section of giving permission. Another way is being mentor. This needs to be in relationship, of course. So this is my mentor in Kansas City. Judy, my coworker, she's met her, and so we meet once a month. We're actually meeting on Tuesday. This is when I get back to Kansas City, 9:30 at Key Coffee, downtown Kansas City. Because I'm like, I need encouragement. I need somebody to speak truth into me and come alongside of me. And she knows nothing about being a TCK. She's from Minneapolis. So she does nothing about being overseas and being MK, but she can guide me. She can give me wisdom and life directions. She can encourage me to have a healthy faith. And so just like someone said about, pairing up people. Okay, this is just serving practically, so I'm going to throw out real quick any other ideas of how to serve practically. Obviously, this would be best done in relationship, but the practical, like care packages, it still speaks volumes. It means something to say that you're seen, and that I still remember this church raised money to buy us a refrigerator, and when you grow up on the equator or the tropical rainforest, that was the best gift we ever got, was a refrigerator to have cold water, and having our food not covered in ants, and just having somewhere to put stuff. So these are just some practical things. Anyone else have any other ideas for practical ways that people have either served you or your family, or you can serve kids?
Take them on vacation, so they can have a vacation, like Disney World, Disneyland, whatever they're interested in.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, somebody did pay for us to go to Disney World twice in Florida. Our family of 4 kids would never afford it, but we still remember that. Significant.
I've got one piece of I'm an MK girl from Pakistan, but whenever my parents would come back on furlough, we would do road trips. So even though I lived overseas, I still experienced that American road trip as a family, and still love to do this today. But it was a great way to get reacquainted with the passport country to see all about that. So my parents moved overseas when I was a little bit older, and now I'm a college student, and so overseas, and one of the biggest things for me was just
having a family in the city that I was at university, who the dorms always have this community out over in Renewal or over in laundry or just all hanging out, and because I can't go home on
Yeah.
weekends.
Yeah, home away from home is super helpful. Any other practical things?
As I've been thinking about having kids on the mission field and stuff, I'm wondering, like, how do I pay for Christmas gifts or like things like that? That isn't, maybe that'll be part of my budget, maybe not, but I thought hopefully somebody offers to give us some Christmas money that's not part of my budget, or order things, to our house from Amazon or something. But I don't know how to do that, so I don't know, that was a personal thought.
I made an Amazon wish list and I just give it to when I go visit churches. I'm like, hey, so, and most of them are ministry related, but I have some things that I want to, that I just wouldn't have money to pay for, But the next part is financial, but yeah, you and then you.
I don't know, it's a little different, but being on a team in a country, because you're not in a confidence that supporting those you have to, like, offering them have date nights, or just spending time with children, making sure their aunts and uncles and cousins and that family are the same from them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then them, and then once to go on. Yeah.
It's a little vague, but the intention of getting to know in a relationship a MK or TCK, and then finding that untapped into desire. So for example, if there's a kid who just feels like it's been suppressed and wants to let it go, but never has been able to afford it, give him a time. Sit down, teach him, open that space up.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the next one is serve TCKs financially. So obviously, I mean, we've heard in some of the other sessions, money is the elephant in the room always when it comes to missions and missionaries. So oftentimes these MKs, so these two that I showed you, these two Amy's that want counseling, I'm like, how do I figure out how to help them pay for it, or what does that look like? There's a transition seminar. Barnabas has one in the summer. It costs like $500 or $600, so like helping MKs be able to go to that, so there's different ways that you can serve. Okay, I'm going to go to the prayer side, and these things that are up here on the prayer come from this bookmark. It's put out by WISA, so just praying for MKs. But I wanted to read you something that my mom wrote in 1991, and my mom wrote this to their supporters or people that she knows. And so she wrote to them, she said, "We have chosen this time to share with you one of our most important furlough goals. We are looking for prayer partners for Tammy and Tori. Tori's my brother. Both are at the stage that they will be making some of the most important decisions of their lives, apart from the decision to follow the Lord, which both have made. But where to go to college, what career options to pursue, acquiring of influential friends, and possibly choosing life partners. We believe they need some earnest, caring, faithful prayer support, especially in the light of the fact that we, their parents, will be residing on another continent during many of these important years. We desire that this prayer commitment be for the duration of our next term in Brazil, which was supposed to be 4 years, beginning this summer and continuing through the summer of 1995. We ask that this commitment include regular prayer, contact with them through letters or calls, and a general keeping in close touch so that you're aware of specific prayer concerns." Then she writes a couple months later, "This letter is being written to all those who responded to our request for prayer partners for Tammy and Tori. We are thrilled with the response, which was double what we hoped for. We thank you from the depths of our hearts. It's the very best gift and commitment you could ever make to a young person, and we feel very privileged that our two eldest will be surrounded by your prayers throughout the next 4 years. I beg of you, please be faithful in praying for them. They will need you. And if they fail to communicate with you and don't hold up their end, that may be when they need your prayers the most." And so, I was super blessed as a college student to have people praying for me, but I didn't realize how much it is to my mom and my dad. that people in churches and in America were on our prayer teams and support team. And my mom set it up so that it was easy for us to do back in the day before emails. But just that prayer is one of the significant ways. I have a supporting church, this one in Alaska, that will text me like, hey, we're praying for you, we have a missions committee meeting, we're praying for you, how can we? And I'm like, man, that's awesome. Thanks for the text. I have to pray for me. And so there's just some ways to pray there. Okay, resources. So hopefully you got your resource thing. So the slides are super vague because you have the list in front of you. Sorry, I forgot to move this one. Okay, Barnabas. So there's 5 of us in, Judy, can I get one of those too? Sorry. I forgot how I ordered it. I thought that was nice. I just put some random things of how to, some things to know about TCKs. Okay, Barnabas resources. I mentioned that transition seminar. And then there's 5 of us at Barnabas that work with TCKs. My business card is up here. So we serve anybody, any mission, organization, church, individual. So if you have questions about TCKs, you can write me or any of us. My coworker, Judy Keith, is here. And so she's listed on here as well. And the 2 of us are also working in Mukapa, which is a ministry under Barnabas that serves MPs in college. And so we were just at Northwestern Crown in Bethel talking to them about their Mukapa programs, or clubs, or lack of. Okay, so some Barnabas resources. And I'm going to show you some of them up here, that's why I wanted to get some. Okay, the Word of God. So, this is awesome. This is the 4 resources we have, guys. Forget me, forget Judy. Go to the Word of God. The hardest transition wasn't going back and forth from Brazil and Canada and America. It was actually moving from New Jersey to Kansas City. And I was like, I would rather settle on the far side of the sea than settle in the middle of the country. You know, and I grew up on an ocean, and just remembering that God will hold me fast. His hand holds me. It's super encouraging. Psalm 139 is basically called the TCK Psalm. And just, he knows when we go out and when we sit down and when we, stand up and just in those transitions, that we have a God who's known us since the very beginning, when we were formed in our mother's womb and knew that we were going to be in a cross-cultural setting. So I have a whole bunch of verses there, but this one, okay. That's why I like clearly so much. We have a high priest who's done that, been there, yes, we can go to him with confidence that we can receive help in our time of need, and that, and so that's another go-to verse. Okay. I guess maybe these are out of order, but let me do the website. Okay, so I'm going to just go through a case of websites and blogs. I will point out 1 or 2. I'll go through each of these sections on your handout. And then if you have something else, like this is my go-to, this has been the most helpful thing ever, all of these things on here were compiled by the 5 of us Barnabas MK workers, and we were trying to do the top 10. Okay, there's 100, or there's 150, or there's 20 good resources at each, or more, so we're just like, what are the top 10? And there's also just not exactly 10 on each of these. So websites and blogs, I mentioned Michelle Phoenix. And then number 3 is Heidi Thunberg. And she lives here in Minneapolis with Reach Global. She has Pinterest that has 100 different resources and groupings of here's videos, here's blogs, here's articles, here's books for kids that are age 2, here's books for kids that are age 5. Like, I mean, it's if you want find some help or resources, Heidi Thunberg's blog, she lives here. The reason she's not doing this workshop is because she went to Thailand on Thursday. And so I would highly recommend her. There's some other ones listed. So anyone else have any websites or blogs that they are like really helpful when it comes to caring for families and kids? Sorry, I realized my paper was out of order. I was like, what? Yeah, okay, it is in order. Okay, let me go back then.
The last question
The what?
The last person you mentioned, Tammy.
Heidi Thunberg. So that's under the website. My papers are out of there. That was under the website from blogs, so it's number 3. Okay, let me go back to the books. Okay. The books about MKs I listed for parents, caregivers, teachers. The TCK book is helpful for anyone to read about TCKs. I also have said it underneath books for MKs is that TCK book. That's what I'm referring to for kids, okay? The other books, I don't have the misunderstood one, number 2 under books about MKs. So that's actually my favorite book right now, and I bought it on my Kindle, so I can't show it to you. But that's really good. The changes between the 1950s and 60s and 70s, what's it mean for the 21st TCK in a highly mobile, moving around world. And then I have this book, Belonging Everywhere and Nowhere. This is awesome. This is a counselor who counsels third culture kids and just talking about the different challenges and issues, and then from a more of a counseling perspective of where to go on that. I showed you the Raising Resilient one. I have some other ones on there. Any other books about MKs or TCKs that you're like, this is awesome, this is really good? This one's called Belonging Everywhere and Nowhere, Insights into Counseling the Globally Mobile.
You have here, is it?
Yes, it's on.
Yeah, this one is number 4 under books about MKs. Okay, books. The books for MKs. I showed you that one, I Have to Be Perfect. That is one of the 3 books I give to MKs. Swirly, and I have it listed by the age groups there. You'll see PEMHA, other books. I have over here Goodbye House, When Africa, I don't know if I have Africa one, but I have Ira, some of the other books. Another really good book. This has changed my life with, because it's talking about a relationship with God instead of for God, or living life under God. So I grew up, you just you obey all these rules and principles, and then what do you have to do for God? This is in relationship with God, and I'm like, wow. I need a relationship, work on that with, not work on it, but my relationship with Jesus, and not what I'm doing for God or how I'm obeying His rules and principles. And so this was life-changing. This is also one of my go-to books I say to MKs. You can have this book, or you can have I Have to Be Perfect book, or both if you need them both.
What's the name of this?
This is number 9 under books for MKs. I would say it's high school, college, adult level. Yeah. And then, okay, so then I have Sola Luna over there. So movies. This is just helpful, the Road Home. So obviously you've seen Inside Out and some of these other books, but this is a Road Home, is about an Indian-looking boy who's British, a British boy who looks Indian going to school in India. And everyone thinks he's Indian because obviously he looks Indian, and just cannot figure out why he doesn't know the language and understand why he doesn't fit in, and he doesn't like it there and hates everything. But this expectation, so this is the MKs and third culture kids that are coming back to America have this hidden immigrant. I look like everyone here, but I don't think the same way as everyone. And this is just it's 20 minutes. A really good illustration of how you can look like the culture around you, but you don't think anything like the culture around you. And it just explains these MKs and TCKs helps explain coming back into American culture. I didn't talk at all in college because, man, I didn't know anything. I looked American and Canadian, but I did not think at all like that. That's a movie. Okay, I just put on here some training and debriefing programs for the whole family. I know people at all of these organizations. Sandy Smith at MTI was the one that did the duck and bead illustration, but she's the one that came up with that. But I hear a lot of churches saying, we just want to send our missionaries. We're a sending agent, we're our own sending agency. I don't have a problem with your church being your own sending agency if you are doing some intentional things to help train your kids to move pre-field. And so I hear like the adults are like, oh yeah, we have this good adult program, but we'll just stay out the kids, we're just going to go with their parents. So these actual programs have training, pre-field and debriefing programs for 0 through 80 or whatever, for everybody. And so great, if your church is a sending agency, awesome. But I have some things up here that you can look at for how to help prepare kids or transition kids to and from the countries. So those activity workbooks would be some of those tools that your church could use just to help kids start thinking and preparing. And I know I'm out of time. Okay. And then that's about it. So you can come look at stuff. I have other resources on there. And the last thing, there's just some other ideas. One of them is Michelle Phoenix's. There's a Canadian Whole Network, which is awesome for your Canadian families.
Thank you.
You can come up there like.
For the next hour during the panel with some TCKs, so if you want to keep it topic on your mind, you can stay. I think we have a 15-minute break. We have a break. It depends how long it is. But this would be a good time to take out that yellow paper while it's fresh and fill out an evaluation.
And I'll move the table over there, like in the back too, so like you can come back after the next session or something, or come up now, but I'll move it back there.
Maybe she's telling us something in that table.
Okay.
Thank you. Enjoy whatever you get.
I have my water bottle. Yeah. Is there two guys that could move it just back there, and then you can take turn? Yeah. I guess let's do it now. Then I'll get set up for the panel. Any other guys that are strong, or doesn't have to be a guy. It could be a girl. I don't want to be like.
What do you need to help you get set up?
Just to move the chairs here in the middle. Yeah.
How many do you have?
Thank you very much, Tammy. We raised 3 MKs on the field and 2 are back, and they're serving themselves.
Okay.
And now I have grandkids that are MKs, who are MKs. But I wanted to ask you, just personally, how was it that you came into Barnabas? Because you were with your mission, and then how did you make that, or why?
I just wasn't a good fit. When I first came into my mission, they were really focused on member care, and I fit really well. They were starting a member care department. I had like a lot of liberty to do whatever I wanted for our families. They got a lot more structured over time. And then they were also went like more, we just need to do 0 to 18, but I was wanting to do college and older, and I just didn't fit as well there anymore. And so just finding like, it was a really hard transition, for sure.
Okay, but it sounds like it's working well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to personally say thank you for what you're doing, because I actually grew up as a third culture kid without knowing that I was a third culture kid, and my family weren't missionaries or anything like that, so this is really hard. And I was wondering if you might have some time, I don't know until when you're here, or maybe we could schedule a time to talk on Skype.
I have like on the table my business card, I have my email on it. I'm meeting tomorrow morning for back to Kansas City, but we use Zoom, it's like Skype. We could just do a Zoom call or something like that. But are you around like tonight? So at 5 o'clock, that's my cousin's wife over there, and they live like 10 minutes from here, and at 5 I'm having a pizza party for any MPs and TCKs. And at their house, and like her husband grew up in Congo, he's an MK. Anyway, so I'm doing this panel, and other people, like random people that I know. Like I grew up with a friend of mine, and she lives here. She's coming, and her husband grew up somewhere, and he's coming. girl that's at Northwestern. She grew up in Rwanda. She's coming. The Pan people, and so yeah, I love. Like it's very yeah.
Yeah, is it gonna be here?
No, it's gonna be at their house, which is like 10 minutes from here.
Okay.
And at 5, and I can give you the address.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to talk, but we want to have more of a setting where we can talk more and hear each other's stories.
Yeah. I'm gonna grab my phone.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much for sharing your
sure.
It's been so helpful, so invigorating.
Or you can have one.
Are we able to buy this off?
You can have it.
Can we buy it off of you though? Because I'd love to support you.
It's okay.
I do have, can I give you some money though? Just to support you. Stuff costs money.
Support the ministry.
Stuff costs.
Yeah.
That's just it. Like we understand like partners developing and like fundraising for things. Like you can't just,
In that boat as well. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's plenty to go.
The body operates as well. She actually stepped up.
Oh, thanks.
a little bit. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We learned a lot. Thank you.
Are you MK or TCK? Okay.
But we have a family that we know that is because they're about
this
to
is a
move
gift
back.
for them, and they're about to move to Turkey.
Yeah, we need to so yeah, appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, again, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yes. Thank you. I didn't see you did that.
And no visuals for this next one?
No. Yeah.
Oh, so this was
Oh, what is your name?
Myra, Mayra.
That should. Maybe it's not remembering. I just texted somebody. Dang it. Oh, I have to do it again. Okay. Well, here's the address. Okay, let me copy this. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay. Start over. No, paste down here. It's like so phone like. Okay. Sorry, what's your number again?
952 686 4253.
So that's the address. It's in Crystal.
Okay.
And then they were just saying like park on the other side of the street. So we have to like 5 and we just order pizza. And then I have like these like photo cards that I was thinking just put on like more like to help share like pick a card that describes your experience growing up. And then like say it's more super informal, but it's just like trying to get people together in this area and kind of connect and things like that. Their daughter Jane is coming. She's 33. Okay. My friend, maybe late 30s, but then we have some college students. And like, so it's a very like and then Tim will be there, and he's in his 60s. He grew up in Congo. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Canada, actually. I was born in Colombia, and then I moved to Canada when I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and I lived in Toronto, Niagara Falls, and Calgary.
Oh, yeah, I was in Calgary too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Lived there for then 3 years, and then I lived a year in Fresno. And
Where in
my family,
Calgary? Was it like northwest?
It was in northeast, 19th Street. And then my aunt and uncle live in Airdrie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I am looking forward to connecting with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you again for just doing this. Like, I just think it's so amazing because it can definitely be so difficult growing up in a different culture. Yeah. Especially when you don't have those resources and those ways of people just showing you that you are seen and that you are loved and that you have a place where you can like express yourself and voice what you're feeling or going through, but at the same time having the opportunity to grow in your life.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Got my water bottle.
So I wanted to ask you, you talked about how if you grew up in America, there was
Oh yeah.
What did you mean?
Sorry. So for example, I know people like on Navajo reservations, or like where there's these subcultures. They could even grown up like in an inner city where you have a definite culture that's maybe different than there's a general American culture, but like I would say like, you know, ones that are in a Native American area, so there's these different cultural groups. I have some friends that are raising their kids in a Hindu community where they're going to school it's actually in Toronto, but it's like all Indian, and there are kids in their class. All the people on the street are Indian, but like so it's not Canadian, but they're in a culture that's a subculture or area within that bigger culture. So like immigrant kids identify with a lot of things where I see you have a Spanish, like a Mexican family, they go to public school with all these American kids, and then they go home and then they're like in their Mexican family doing their tamales or enchiladas or whatever, you know, like speaking Spanish, and then so they're even doing this transition every day between a different cultural system. So it's not all of exactly the same, but so there are families in the United States that move around a lot or are living in different cultural settings or communities, and so they're trying to navigate that of like what that looks like, how to act, what things are appropriate to say or do, or so it doesn't always apply. I mean, but the third culture is a kid growing up in a cross-cultural setting and moving around. The people around them are moving or they are moving, so that could happen in the United States.
I grew up, my parents are Christian, but they're very American, except my dad is very Greek. But then, and my yaya, his mom was born in Athens, so, but it wasn't overbearingly Greek all the time. It was just a very Greek family in that regard, but then my mom's side was very American, German American. And then growing up in South Florida, where all my friends were, my first friend was black, and then I hung out with all of her friends and a Muslim, and then all of my friends, other than that, because I hopped from friend groups a lot, I never stayed in one. I could never be super close with Americans. I just never liked being friends with Americans, because there was this idea that if you're an American and you hang out with Americans, just this bad reputation, and so I would try to hang out with other people. Most of my friends were Hispanic or Latino, and now I've been going to a Brazilian church for 7 years, and I actually know Portuguese.
Okay, awesome.
I was going to ask you, você fala português?
Sim, eu falo, mas não falo muito bem. Eu esqueci tudo. Eu tenho Amy em Kansas City, mas não tem muito pessoas para praticar e lembrar português.
I understand. And then I went to France, and so that was because I love Brazil. I've never been to Brazil, but I love the culture.
South Florida has probably a lot of Brazilians.
I know I'm dating a Brazilian, but it's just like,
so
I don't know, I've always struggled with that. Do I consider myself like someone that, because it's not the same thing, but it is.
There's some other terms being used now. You might want to explore the term cross-cultural kid. So it's a broader term that's been including these variations on the theme that would include adopted kids, immigrant kids, refugee kids, kids that are crossing cultures, and like what you're talking about. So Ruth Van Rieken she's actually the one writing a lot of the stuff about cross-cultural kids. And then what does that mean for who we are and like that kind of context. So that might be something to look at. You could maybe like online or her name, Ruth Van Rieken. but so she helped write the TCK book, but she's like, hey, there's all these other scenarios and people out there that have real similar things.
It's not the same thing, but
It's not exactly the same, but let's broaden it out, say cross-cultural kids and third culture, you know, and these different subgroups like that. And like missionary kid is a subgroup of third culture, you know, so it's like, yeah, so we got these other layers of, and there's all these similarities, but there are differences. Yeah.
What was your favorite thing in Brazil?
I go to the ocean, it's the beach. Like we always went to the Atlantic or the Amazon to swim.
Oh, so you lived in that area?
Yeah, I lived on the mouth of the Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
not down south. Yeah, so way up north, but yeah, so just
Wait, where up north?
Belém, that's right, the port city going in the Amazon.
Oh, cool. I think my church is named after, like, I think that's where they started. That's what they're...
Okay, that's funny.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so, yeah, I grew up on the Amazon River.
My boyfriend's from what I knew.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Is he like San Luis? San Luis? POE area, yeah. I've been around there.
But I read a book about, have you heard Wherever the River Runs?
Yes, but I haven't read it. Okay,
I don't know. I don't know, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, cool.
So, I grew up in Kenya, and Steve and Melinda were my in Kenya. When I saw them on the screen, I was like, oh my god! Daniel was in my class.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I wasn't sure like how he's doing now because I know he's been struggling, but
Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah, I was like, I got to spend 3 weeks with them in Kenya, so it was awesome.
Recently?
So, yeah, him and is my mom's cousin. He's my mom's cousin, so he's my second cousin.
Awesome.
Or, no, his kids are my second cousins.
Yeah.
Like Daniel's my second cousin.
So you went to like Naivasha area and stayed with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I live right like just down the road from them, like 4-minute walk, Coving. My parents are working in Egypt now.
Oh, okay.
But they just moved there in August.
Oh, okay. So I bet some other people then. I'm like, yeah, about your kids.
And then the Aaronsons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I was there. It was awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, my daughter, Chris.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
I've
thanks for
got to
coming.
go and do
Okay,
with
I'm gonna
another
see if we
thing.
can find these other ones back here so we can kind of like group things. I have nothing. I was just finishing up this one workshop. Hi, I'm Tammy. Are you Joanna?
I am. Great to
Okay,
meet
nice
you.
to meet you.
Yeah.
Jake.
Jake. Okay. Sorry.
Where did you guys get your name tags?
Oh, at the
registry.
Yeah.
Okay, I went over there and they didn't.
There's a table. Okay, there's a table that have them all laid on. Okay. Yeah, I'll go check. Okay. Yeah, when she comes back, then I'll get him and the other like her and Andrew, and he had a friend Hannah. Did your brother want to be on the panel or not really? I think so. I think he's just
Kind of occupied.
yeah, so I met him this summer at the transition seminar.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. So, and then how do you like your brother's girlfriend? Your mom was telling me a little bit about her.
Yeah, she's cool.
Are you guys doing skiing after that?
Yeah, we are.
Awesome.
It's going to be amazing. Like 22 up there, I think.
Cool. Matthias, hi. How are you?
Good, how are you?
You don't want to be on the panel?
No. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, nice
Good to meet your other two siblings.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tammy. I'm Brittany. Nice to meet you, Brittany. Cool. Your mom was saying, that you're up here visiting. So. Are you on break right now from school? Or just
I'm not.
Taking a couple days off?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
From Austin, Texas, and San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, so you can stick around if you want.
Yeah, sounds like, I think we'll stay for it.
Okay, sounds good. When you're done talking, then I'll proof you guys. Talk to this. Oh, yeah. Have you seen Hannah?
I know, I tried to get hold of her.
okay.
She's busy second home.
Okay, so.
Hi, I'm Joanna.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you.
Zoe.
A little bit of your calendar. C-O-W-A-N.
So I haven't seen this other girl, Hannah, right? She was going to be on the panel? Okay.
Yeah, should I go, when we go to?
Yeah, go see if you
I'll
can
go
see
see if I
it.
can find it.
Okay. So have you've heard some of the sessions so far? Have you been here for any? Okay, so you haven't been here for any. Okay, so the theme of the conference was living in the tension of rest and risk. So that's kind of why I was asking those specific questions of like, and so the first part I was just going to ask you, like, so I'll ask a question and then like, so it's just the three main questions, but more, the first is more like, can you just kind of give your, I'm going to call it a story outline.
Okay.
And I know your stories are probably, I mean, you could take days to tell your stories, but like, so I was thinking of like, it's only an hour and roughly like maybe 10 to 15 minutes for each section. So the first section would be like your story outline. So like, you know, where did you grow up? You know, maybe, yeah, just what kind of schooling did you do? What transitions or like, you know, kind of, yeah, a little bit of just your history of up to where you are now, kind of like, so that people, if they want to ask you more specific questions, they at least know kind of your context or where you're coming from. And then the second question, I was thinking to ask a question about rest. And so they've been talking at the conference more about like, you know, we're commanded to take like, honor the Sabbath, or there's lots of, you know, come all you who are weary, heavy laden, and rest, you know, kind of there's these things in scripture. But so I just was, and like, I'm fine with you guys being totally honest and blunt. Like, so if your story's like hard or rough, I'm okay with that. Not that it has, I mean, none of it's super awesome and positive, great too. But I want you guys to be honest. But so I was gonna ask the question like, how did your family, yeah, in the midst of ministry and working, how did they take a rest? Did they, you know, how did your perspective of growing up was, you know, my family was too busy doing ministry, or did they play too much, or did they balance that well, kind of idea of just like what did your family. Then I think I'll ask the audience if they have any questions for you about rest of those questions, and then we can go on to the risk part. And so I'll let you guys take it whatever direction you want to, but like, how did you see your family risking for the sake of the gospel? Did they, what was risky to you? Was there anything that was risky? Yeah. And then like, maybe at the end of like, was the risk worth it for you personally as an MK or TCK? And if the answer is no, that's fine. Like, if it is yes, but yeah, so I don't want you to feel like you have to like soften your answers, but you know, you can be honest about it. And then I was going to open up for questions after that. Sound okay? Still in? That sounds good. So how do you want to do the intro part?
I'll just introduce you again.
Okay.
And then you can do what you want or need to have the panel introduce yourself. And there's two mics.
Oh yeah. So why you guys use? Oh, the other question was that they were wanting to record the sessions, but I said we don't have to record the session if you feel comfortable about it or not.
Can I chime in? My recommendation would be not to. Okay. Simply because this is a risk. I'll let you try to get it all.
I know, I was like,
one of the reasons that I would recommend not is, number one, it's recording on that. And so if there's 6 people, we can't kind of pass that around. So there's the quality thing as well. If it's not there. And then also for fielding questions from the audience. How are we going to get there? So let's just do that. Great, now they're going to hear